Alright, this has been on low heat all night. I gave it another extra little shot of nitric acid before I shut down for the night. Hopefully, all the gold's in solution. There's probably some extra nitric in there, at least I'm hoping there is, because if there is excess nitric acid in there, because, you know, after sitting all night, it's actually afternoon the next day because I got a late start. So if there's still excess nitric acid in here, that's going to tell me that all the gold has probably gone into solution. If there's no excess nitric, that's going to tell me that maybe I didn't get all the gold in solution. All of the nitric acid that was in there was used up. There might still be some gold there. So I will mix up a solution of sulfamic acid, a saturated solution of sulfamic acid. We'll pour it in there and see if we get a reaction. If we do get a reaction, then I'd say probably all the gold's in solution. If we don't, then I'll say I might have to do another extraction on that. Okay, here we go with our saturated solution of sulfamic acid. And we get no reaction. I don't like that. I don't think that's a good sign. I think there's still gold in there. So I'm going to decant off this liquid and start another extraction on this stuff, because I think there's probably still some gold hiding in there. I get a little bit of fizzing, but really nothing serious. So yeah, see, that's one way I can always tell whether the gold's fully dissolved or not, if there's nitric acid left over in the solution. But if there's no nitric left, then I got to worry there might be some gold left in there. So let me decant this stuff off. Well, I just did another stannous chloride test on this stuff. So we definitely got gold in solution. It's a pretty good indication. So there's a fair amount of gold in there. I just don't think we have it all in solution. So I am gonna... I was just gonna decant that off, but I'm thinking I might as well filter it. And I can drop the gold out of what liquid I've got here and then start a second extraction on the stuff in the bottom of the beaker. And I think I'm definitely going to concentrate the second half of this batch with the sluice before I run it, just because there's too much material to process really efficiently. So yeah, I'll have to bust the sluice out and sluice that material before I run it. So let me set up for filtration. We'll get this stuff filtered, and then we'll start a second extraction on it. Alright, let's get to filtering this stuff. Let's see if I can do it without making a horrible mess. Alright. The liquid's a little green, but actually on the whole it doesn't look too bad. So, you know, it's going to be a bit of a dirty gold drop out of this stuff, but I think it's actually more yellow than green. Definitely didn't get all the copper out with the nitric acid boil, but I got the vast bulk of it. I mean, you never get it all. Yeah, I don't know if that's showing up. This stuff's actually fairly yellow. It's got a definite green tinge to it, though. There's no doubt about it. It's got some copper contamination. It looks like it's coming off nice and clear, too. I mean, it's even pouring out of here nice and clear. There's not a lot of cloudiness to it, so... Well, I did the test earlier for silver nitrate content, and there really wasn't much in the way of silver there present, so I don't have to worry too much about silver chloride, I'm hoping. Hopefully that's not famous last words. Come back to bite me later, but we'll see. Okay, this is where doing that gravity separation early on and continually washing the material until the water was running off clear. This is where that really pays off right now, because there's not a lot of particulates in this liquid. My filter's not clogging up, and this is going relatively quickly, even though I'm only using my small filtration funnel. So I'll be done with this in just a few minutes. You know, if there were still a lot of particulates in here, I'd be at this all afternoon. So this is going good. But I won't make you watch the rest of it. I'll be back when it's done. Okay, filtration's done. I've washed all the color out of the filter. I will dump this liquid in the flask in this beaker here. We'll go into the fume hood. We'll drop that gold, and we'll start the second extraction on the leftover stuff from the first extraction. Alrighty, so I got our liquid in here, but the first thing I'm going to do before I try to drop the gold out of this and fill the fume hood up with nasty sulfur dioxide gas is I'm going to get this second extraction started on this stuff over here. Oh, some more muriatic acid. Get the heat on it, and we'll add some nitric acid to it. About 2 milliliters. 4, 6. It shouldn't take as much this time. I mean, I put a lot in before and it all disappeared. But I'm thinking all of the base metals that were left in there are in solution now. And most, at least, of the gold that was in there should be in solution now. So hopefully that should be more than enough acid. We shall see. Alright, so now we get fume hood going, and we'll drop this gold here in a second. Alrighty, let's see if we can get some gold to drop here. Got some bony stump out here. It is sodium metabisulfite. Now there are other stump removers on the market, but they don't contain sodium metabisulfite. This is what you need. Get the gold out of solution. You can't get this. It's also available as a food grade additive, but it's a lot more expensive. Stump remover's cheap. Oops, making a mess. Alright, one more. Give it a stir. So I'm not seeing a lot of foaming yet. I'm going to give it one more spoonful. Generally, when you start seeing the foaming, that's a good indication that it's done its job. But that's a lot of SMB in there, so I'm just going to let that sit, and we'll see what develops from that. Hopefully some gold's going to develop. Well, it's been about 20 minutes or so. This stuff's starting to bubble again over here, so yeah, I'm thinking there was still some free gold left in there. Yeah, there it goes, bubbling. And then this one over here, we're starting to get a good layer of gold falling out on the bottom of the beaker. You'll have to take my word for it because it's not really visible from here. I'll show it to you later. So things are cooking along nicely. Yeah, it's a dark and gloomy day today. It's gonna rain. So I got my phone out here lighting up the bottom of this beaker. There's that layer of gold that's formed in the bottom of it. It's surprisingly good looking gold. Out of such a green solution, I wasn't expecting to get such good looking gold, but there it is. It looks like there's a fair amount there too. So that's nice. Hopefully we'll get some more out of this stuff too. So I'm going to put this beaker back into fume hood and let it sit and settle some more. It's still a little cloudy, so all the gold hasn't settled to the bottom yet. Well, happy winter solstice day. It's the 22nd, 3 days before Christmas. This has been sitting here for a few days because I've just been too busy with other stuff to deal with it. So it's interesting how if I leave stuff sit for a while it turns dark. This is the precipitated gold I precipitated out from the first extraction on this stuff. So I'm gonna siphon the bulk of the liquid off and collect the gold and start cleaning it up. This stuff has just been sitting here. I've added a little bit more nitric acid to it and I've turned the heat up, and we'll see if we get any kind of reaction. I'm thinking probably by now all the metals are in solution, but hey, I've thought that before and been wrong. So a little bit more nitric acid, we'll give it some heat, we'll see what happens, see if we get a reaction. If not, I'll denox it and we'll filter off this liquid and drop some more gold, and then we'll move on to the next batch. Now I can see this is going to be a very long video, so hang in there. I'll probably break it up into 2 or 3 parts, maybe 4 parts to get through all this. It's just taken forever, but hey, at least you're not having to spend as much time on it as I am. You're just seeing it in segments. Okay. So let me get set up to siphon the liquid off of this, and we'll get that gold cleaned up. And meanwhile, this should be warming up. Alright, siphoning. Yes, it is the winter solstice. And after being in the 80s every day for a couple weeks now, and me needing to have the big fan running on me while I'm out here, the weather has turned chilly. Chilly for Florida. Probably in the upper 50s, I would imagine. I didn't really check it. Alright, let me get this siphoned. And since this video is getting really long, I will speed it up. I'm siphoning into my temporary stock pot, by the way. I'll let the liquid linger in here for a while, and any extra gold that it wants to drop out, it can drop out in here before I pour the liquid into my main stock pot, because it's a lot easier to get out of here than it is in the main stock pot. Okay, that's good. Starting to suck up gold off the bottom. Don't want to do that. Of course, like I said, it is fairly easy to get back out of this temporary stock pot. But I don't want to have to. It actually looks like a fairly good amount of gold. Of course, it always looks like a lot of gold in the bottom of the beaker when it's wet. So, yeah. Alright, I'm going to transfer this to a smaller beaker and start giving it some distilled water boils to try and clean it. Well, I'm not really liking the looks of that. I transferred it to a smaller beaker. There's definitely gold in there, but I think there's something else in there too, something gray. So I think we got some kind of extra precipitate there along with the gold. Don't know what it is. I'm going to go ahead with my plan to boil this in distilled water and see where that gets me. But I think we may have some kind of contaminant in this. Okay, so I've got my gold and whatever this gray precipitate is in this smaller beaker. I've got some distilled water on it. I may actually add a little more distilled water to the beaker, and I want to bring this to a boil. Now, a gray precipitate generally means silver chloride. Now, I did a test for silver on this stuff, and it came back like, well, there's very little, if any, silver in it. But, did skip an important step. Did not denox the liquid that this gold and whatever this precipitate was came from, because it did not have excess nitric acid. Now normally when I denox stuff, I use sulfamic acid. So I think I just put enough in to see if there was a reaction, and there wasn't one. So there's a couple ways I can deal with this. I'm going to bring this to a boil. Hopefully what's going to happen as I boil it is the gold particles will consolidate and stay on the bottom of the beaker, and the silver chloride particles, being very fine, very light and fluffy, will be distributed throughout the liquid, and I can just pour most of that off as I change the liquid a couple of times. We'll see how well that works. But what I can also do, and what I'll probably end up doing anyway, is I will combine whatever gold I get from here with the gold in here, redissolve it in aqua regia, filter it really well to get any silver chloride out, make sure I drop any silver chloride that might be in here, filter it really well, and then reprecipitate the gold from aqua regia nice and clean. So that's a possibility. Okay, my strategy with this isn't working. Yeah, the boiling gets a lot of the, well, some of the silver chloride suspended in the water, but as I pour it off, I can see that I'm only getting a tiny fraction of it out, and I'm dragging some gold over too when I pour it out. So I poured it all back into this beaker, and I'm just going to stop with the boiling. It's just not working. And I'll let this cool down. And what I'll do is my second idea, which is when I get the gold from this solution, I'll add it to this beaker with this mess and redissolve everything in aqua regia and filter it really well to get rid of that silver chloride mess. Okay, so that's my new plan. Now, speaking of the liquid over here, it's heated up. All the activity I see is just boiling. I don't see any kind of actual reaction to the nitric acid I put in there. I'm going to turn the heat off so it can start cooling down. So, yeah, it's just boiling. In fact, it's thumping a little bit, which I don't like because I don't want to break my big 3-liter beaker. But no reaction, no fumes. So, I think it's done. Let me see about denoxing it. I've got my usual solution of sulfamic acid here. Now there should be some free nitric in there because I've added some. So let's see what happens. Oh yeah, got a reaction that time. Okay, but I'd already added some sulfuric acid to it just in case there was no free nitric acid. So hopefully, if I let this cool down and I dilute it, any silver in solution should hopefully drop out as both silver chloride and silver sulfate. And then we should get a fairly nice clean gold drop the second time around here. Here's hoping anyway. I won't tell you what my dad said about hoping though. Your dad probably said it too. You're over a certain age. Okay, that looks pretty thoroughly denoxed. All right, so we just got to let it cool down. I'll get some ice and put on it, and when the ice melts, we'll be ready to filter it. All right, I have taken that off the hot plate, added some ice to it. It's cooling down. Once it gets good and cool, I'll filter it. From the deep green color, apparently there was still some copper left in there too. It's really hard to get all of the metals dissolved out of so much material. So I think I will set up the sluice to do the second batch, just so that I can reduce the amount of material. I'll be able to concentrate the gold into a smaller amount of material, and the acid extraction should go a little easier, I'm thinking. So yeah. Ooh, I may wait for a warmer day though. It is chilly today. No water sports today. Okay, so time to get this stuff filtered. And the liquid went cloudy when it got cooled and diluted by the ice, so I'm taking that as a good sign. Hopefully I can filter that cloudiness out and no more will develop. We'll see. I can always run it through the filter a couple times if I have to. And I'm going to run the liquid through before I get the solids into the filter to dry them out. So, yeah, I will probably have to run it through again. It looks a little cloudy. So I will run the liquid through. Yeah, the filter's catching something. So I'll probably have to run the liquid through a couple of times. Make sure it's good and clear. Then I'll dump the solids in here. And let the vacuum pull the liquid out as I'm pouring distilled water on top. Yeah, just a little bit cloudy. Alright, so it'll need a couple filtrations, but the second one may be good enough because by then the filter will be loaded up with whatever this stuff is. And it won't make it through the pores in the filter a second time with any luck. So this is going to take a little while. So there's what the filter captured on this liquid's first trip through the filter. So I've poured the liquid off the solids. I'm going to pour this liquid out of the flask into this beaker here, and then run it back through this now dirty filter, and that sure does look like silver chloride for the most part. So yeah, there must have been more silver in this stuff than I thought. The nitric acid boils didn't dissolve at all, that's for sure. Actually, it's starting to look like the nitric acid boils didn't dissolve much of it at all. So yeah, so I'll pour this in there and run it back through, and we should get a nice clear liquid. I mean, it's only slightly cloudy. The first liquid to come through was pretty cloudy, but now it's been diluted with a lot more liquid that's not so cloudy. But I want to get all the cloudiness out, so I'll run it through again. Okay, refiltering this lime green Kool-Aid through the now dirty filter. Yeah, it's looking cleaner. That's good. I'll get this all through. Then I'll put the solids over here into the filter and let the vacuum suck the residual liquid out of them as I wash them with the distilled water. We'll get all the pregnant solution out of the solids too. Alright, second time through the filter. That did the trick. This is nice and crystal clear now. One problem is though is I've got almost 2 liters of liquid in here, and I've still got to get the solids in and rinse them. So I'm going to dump this liquid off back into this beaker it just came from. I've cleaned it. And then I'll dump the solids in and rinse them and let the vacuum pull all the liquid out of them. And I'll put all the resulting liquid back in this beaker after I clean it. Because this is a 3-liter beaker, it can hold more. So yeah, I definitely need to reduce the amount of stuff for the next run. This is just too much to handle. Too much back and forth and shuffling around. Okay, time to deal with these solids. Get the vacuum pump running again. Make sure I plug the right thing in. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump these on the filter in there. Give them a little incentive to start moving with a spritz of water. I'm going to try and spread them out into a fairly even layer across the filter. Easier said than done. They like to build little sand castles as you put them in. Knock it down by hand. And this is a lot of material. I don't think I've ever processed so much in one go. I bought this big 3-liter beaker so I could process more at once, but this is turning out to be not so easy or efficient. Let me spread this out a little bit into a more even layer across the filter. Let the vacuum pull the liquid out of it. And I'll spritz some distilled water on top to help it along on its journey through. And I'll just keep this up until the liquid's coming out clear and not lime green anymore. It won't take long. The vacuum is really good at sucking the liquid out of the solids. They'll come out of here almost dry. It'll just take a little while. Yeah, I'll let the vacuum run a half hour, 45 minutes, I don't care. It'll get all that pregnant gold goodness out of these solids. Okay, I've had the vacuum running on this for about 45 minutes or so. The drops are pretty few and far between now. This is quite dry up in here. So I'm going to call it. I'm going to dump the liquid in both of these beakers back in the big 3-liter beaker, which I have cleaned, and put it in a fume hood, and we'll drop the gold. Hopefully we'll get a nice clean gold drop this time. Oh, and one more thing. Somebody in the comments of one of my other videos said I should save, in fact it's been said several times by several people, that I should save this material here and smelt it to see if I can get any more precious metals out of it. Well, I might actually get into smelting. I'm pretty confident there's not a lot of precious metals left in there, but you know what, saving it might not be a terrible thing. So I think I will dump this stuff in a bucket. I'll probably have to upgrade to a 5-gallon bucket fairly soon, but I think I will start saving it, and eventually I may try smelting it and compelling the results to see if I can get any more precious metals out of it. Up till now I've just been filling in low spots in the driveway with it. I suppose if I do get precious metals out of it, I'll have to dig up the driveway and process that stuff. Alright, all the liquid's back in the big beaker. Let me get the fume hood going, and we'll see if we can drop this gold. Got a stump out here, but it's gone lumpy on me, even though I keep it in a plastic bag. Big lump in here. See, it took a fair amount last time to get the gold to drop, so put that in here again. I don't know if I want to throw this big lump in or not. I need to break that out. One more. Whoops. Partial spoonful. Alright, so we'll just let that sit and see if the gold actually wants to drop out, or do I need to put some more in? Just let it go for a while. See what happens. Ah, there it goes. Took a little while to get started, but it has darkened up. The gold is starting to come out of solution. I didn't quite get to the camera quick enough. It had already gone pretty much opaque. Once it started, it went pretty quick. Just was a little bit of a delayed reaction. So we'll see how much gold we get out of this. And hopefully it'll be nice clean gold. Well, it's the next morning. We've still got some lime green Kool-Aid in here, but with a nice layer of gold on the bottom. So I will get started retrieving that. What I will do is I will siphon the liquid off just like I did before, and then I will transfer the gold on the bottom of this beaker into the other beaker that has the gold from the first half of this batch. And then I will dissolve that, redissolve that all in aqua regia, refilter it, and redrop it, and hopefully get some nice clean gold without all of the silver chloride in it. This doesn't seem to have any silver chloride, but it's coming out of this lime green nastiness, so I need to refine it anyway. So there may be some segments filmed without audio coming up because it's a busy day here on the farm. A lot of heavy equipment running. It's very noisy. This is a little bit of a lull in the activity right now, so there may be periods when it's just too noisy for me to narrate, and I'll just mute the audio so you don't have to listen to all the noise too. And I may just skip ahead to after I have this siphoned off because you've already seen me siphoning. Okay, I have siphoned off the lime green liquid, and that's the gold that's left in the bottom. Looks pretty good, actually. It's got a nice color to it. Much nicer than the last batch. But I'm going to go ahead and add it to that last batch anyway and re-refine the whole thing. First I'll give this a couple of rinses just to get the rest of the lime green liquid out of it. Then I'll add it to the last batch with the silver chloride in it, and we'll redissolve it and precipitate it one more time and get rid of all of the impurities, hopefully. Okay, the heavy equipment's been giving me a break, so what I'm doing here is I've been rinsing the gold that came out of that big 3-liter beaker. It's down here in this beaker. Now I've been giving it some distilled water rinses before I add it to the gold that I precipitated in the first batch, or the first half of this first batch. And I'm just dumping the rinse water through a funnel with a filter in it. Some of the gold's making it over into the filter, but I don't care because I'm going to put that filter in with the gold when I re-refine it. So that's actually looking pretty clean now. So I'll wait for this liquid to go through, and then I'll combine everything in one beaker and redissolve it in aqua regia. Okay, so here we go. Let's get this gold cleaned up. I've combined the gold from the 2 drops into here. This is got a lot of silver chloride in it still. This is the filter that I used for filtering the rinse water. So that's going in there. Let's make some aqua regia. We get the fume hood going. Put in some uriatic acid. And some nitric acid. And we will dissolve that gold in there. Now I wouldn't be surprised if at least some of the silver chloride goes back into solution too. It is somewhat soluble in highly acidic solutions. So I'll have to make sure to re-precipitate that by cooling and dilution before filtration, just so we don't wind up having to deal with it again. I want to get rid of it. Oh. I'll just let that warm up, and all the gold should dissolve. Like I said, some of the silver chloride will probably go back into solution. Filter will fall apart. I'll check the bottom of the beaker from time to time to make sure all the gold has gone into solution, because it's laying down on the bottom of the beaker. You can't really see it through the silver chloride. And once all the gold's gone, we'll cool it, dilute it, and filter it, and then re-precipitate the gold. And might be able to get it cleaned up and weighed and see how much I got from that first half of the VGA RAM chips. Okay, the reaction is complete. All the gold appears to be in solution. I've turned the heat off. I've got some errands to run. When I get back, we will denox it, filter it, and drop the gold. See how much we get. Alrighty, the liquid has been double filtered. It's quiet here at the farm for the moment, but this probably won't last. Let me see if I can get this gold dropped before the noise starts up again. I got my stump out here, my bone with the sodium metabisulfite in it, SMB. And I don't know if there's enough left in here. I do have another one. We'll see if this will do the job. That is just some beautiful looking liquid. Hope we get some beautiful looking gold out of it. Doesn't seem to be a trace of green left in it. Got all the cloudiness from the silver chloride out of it. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I think the color's changing a little bit. Let me give it a stir. That may be all it needs. Yeah, look at that. It's gone clear. And after it goes clear, the gold should start precipitating. That was quick. And I caught that on camera for a change. Nice. Yeah, it's starting to darken. It's starting to darken. Yep. Here comes the gold. Lovely. Oh, let me get the fume hood going before I get a lungful of that sulfur dioxide, although it's not really bubbling out of solution. Yeah, look at it go. Wow. Okay. So it's getting late in the afternoon. I'll probably leave this sit till tomorrow morning and then deal with it. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve. I might be able to get this cleaned up, dried out, and weighed up before the end of the day. Assuming I don't have too much prep for Christmas going on. And we'll see how much gold I got out of the first half of the first batch. And see if I'm anywhere on target with my prediction. So we'll just let this sit and see what I get. Well, good morning. It's the next morning and look what we have here. Wow. Look at that. That is some nice clear liquid. Looks like we had a nice clean gold drop out of it. No more of the lime green Kool-Aid crap. It looks like there's a nice thick layer of gold on the bottom of the beaker. Of course, it always looks thick when it's wet on the bottom of the beaker. We'll see how much gold's really there. So what I'm going to do is I will, I don't want to siphon it off or just pour it through a filter. There's not that much liquid here. I think I'll just pour it through a filter so I capture anything that, that comes off, and I'll throw it in with the next batch. Throw the filter in. And we'll clean this up, dry it out, and weigh it up, and see how much we got. Hopefully I can get that done today. It's Christmas Eve. And we're going over to some relatives' house in a little while, but I can at least get started on it and maybe finish it up tonight. We'll see. Alright, I have drained all the liquid off the gold, and I don't know if it's showing up there, but you can see there's a little bit of gold made it into the filter. Not much. But I'll let this go for now and let that continue draining and leave this out here because I've got the gold in the fume hood. I just put some just clean distilled water on it and I'm going to boil it. Let me show you that. So here's the gold in this beaker here with some clean distilled water on it. It's just starting to warm up. I'm going to give it a boil in some distilled water and I will drain it back through that filter again so I don't lose any of the gold. And then give it another boil in distilled water and drain it off again, and then dry up what's left and weigh it up. So I will be back when it's time for a weigh up. Okay, so here we go. The gold has been rinsed in boiling distilled water a couple times. It's all been all dried out. It's looking pretty good. It's looking like there's a fair amount of it there too. Let me get it unstuck from the bottom of the beaker here and we'll weigh it up. See just how much there is. It can look like a lot, but you know, until you actually weigh it, you don't know. Actually, you know what? Because it's a little breezy out here, I'll just dump it right into my impure gold powder container. That little weigh boat would be shook by the wind, and we wouldn't get a good reading. So let's get the scale turned on. Okay. Hey, holy cow. All right. So I was estimating about 3.5 grams out of those BGA RAM chips. So that would be about 1 3/4 gram in the half that I did. Because remember, I only did half of the BGAs. So it's actually a little less than that. But I'm also thinking, because I took the stuff out of the bucket, the top of the bucket, the gold's going to wind up in the bottom of the bucket. So I'll bet there's more than the other half in the bottom. So I think we're right on target for my estimate of how much gold is in this stuff. So that's really great. So that's a nice little Christmas present to me. So 1.67 grams of gold out of that first half of the BGA chips. Plus I've got all the other chips to process yet. I think we're going to come in really close to my estimate on how much gold is in this stuff, and I'm going to make a profit. That's great. All right, Merry Christmas to me. So that's going to conclude this video. But after Christmas, which is tomorrow, I will start processing the other half of the BGA chips, and I'll do it a little different. And then after that, I'm going to process the other chips, and we'll see all together how much gold I get. Oh, the wind is making this bounce around. But I think we're right on target. I think my estimation of just how much gold is in these things is pretty good, and I think I'm going to make a profit. All right. Well, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you found this interesting, educational, informative. Killed some time during COVID lockdown. If there's anybody still locked down out there, there must still be somebody locked down. So give the video a thumbs up, give it a like, if so. And subscribe to see future videos. There's more videos coming. I've got more chips to process. I've got lots of I've got some really interesting stuff coming up on copper, on refining my my cement copper from my waste bucket. People seem to like those videos, and I'm scaling up. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to see those future videos. Press the little bell icon that YouTube makes you press to be notified when new videos come out. And thanks for watching. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.